Welcome to Pigskins and Pageantry, a podcast dedicated to all things SEC football. My name is Wes, and I'd like to invite you to join me, Jesse, and Matt each week as we discuss last week's games, news from around the league, the big games this weekend, and more.
And what's up, everybody? It's Wes. Happy New Year to everyone. Happy 2021. We're going to speak it into existence that it will be better. And starting with this show, it's going to be better. So lots of stuff has happened since we last spoke, including, obviously, bowl season. So no one better to talk about that with than my good friends and yours. First off, Jesse, let's start with you. Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year. I'm good. Since we last spoke, we have beaten Notre Dame. We are on our way to a Natty. We have a third Heisman Trophy winner for the university. Things are good. I've had a glass of wine. I've had charcuterie. I've baked cookies. I've done yoga. We're bringing in good juju. Things are fine.
Poor Matt is nauseated now. So
I really could I sound more basic in that description?
What's going on, Matt? Happy New Year. How are
Happy New Year to you guys. I'm 2021. Here we go, baby. It's it's been what, 2 weeks and we're already on fire?
It's even great. Been 2 weeks.
It hasn't even been 2 weeks. It's just a hot mess.
It's the meme of the dog sitting in the fire room. It's like,
yes,
it's fine.
This is fine. This is fine.
That's right. All right. Well, let's talk about those games or those bowl games and figure out how everyone did.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right. First off, we do want to mention that some of the games were canceled that we spoke about last time. First off, we had South Carolina UAB, Iowa versus Mizzou, and Arkansas versus TCU. All of those were canceled. So unfortunate for them. We wish all the players and coaches well. Hope everyone's healthy and doing well now. But first of the games that actually happened was number 6 Oklahoma at 8-2 versus number 7 Florida at 8-3, and that was Wednesday, December 30th on ESPN. The Goodyear Cotton Bowl from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas.
What nothing good about that? Woof.
And goodness, I mean, it was just out the gate, man. Just Oklahoma just dominating and winning this one 55-20. Nobody got the point in this one. Obviously, we thought it was going to go otherwise. But we talked about it. Kyle Pitts wasn't playing. A big loss for one of the Kyles being out. As well as, I think they had several other players who were out with either COVID or opting out. And Dan Mullen even talked about in his post-game press conference about how depleted they were, how they actually, I guess because of the way the numbers work out, they did have the option. They could have opted out of the game if they wanted to, but they chose to play anyway because the players wanted to compete. So I thought that was an interesting angle that he took in the press conference, which, I guess if you lose like this, you want to try to justify it any way you can. But Jesse, I want to get your thoughts first on this game and just how unexpectedly lopsided it was.
Yeah, there were no amount of jorts that could save the Florida Gators. Not you could have sacrificed and burned 30, and it wasn't great. I have a couple issues with this game.
Okay.
None of which are related to the actual play itself. Oklahoma set a new Cotton Bowl record with 684 yards of total offense, including a program postseason record of 435 rushing yards. They just could not stop the run game, which is not necessarily surprising considering nobody in the SEC has been running the ball this year. Now, we used to run it all the time. We don't anymore. But the things that made me a little annoyed. And I don't know, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. First of all, I understand why players want to sit out. I truly do. You don't want to get hurt going into the NFL. You want great chances, blah, 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 blah. But you've worked this hard to get your team to that season. And I know you have to make sure that you're, not tearing an ACL or whatever it is. But don't you want to show up at least for the first couple quarters It makes me really sad for the players, the seniors that aren't going to the NFL. They're not ever going to get another chance. They've worked so hard for 4 years, all this season. They've dealt with COVID. They've done all these things. They've done everything as a teammate that you've needed them to do. And then you don't show up and it's their last game ever.
Right.
That just makes me sad. I mean, I get both sides, but that makes me sad for those seniors.
Yeah.
It's got to be frustrating to know that your team could do better, because it wasn't just Kyle Pitts that sat out. There was, multiple guys that sat out, not just for COVID, to go to the draft. So that's never quite sat right with me. I mean, I'm not a player, so I know my opinion is obsolete, but that doesn't sit right with me. And then another thing that Cousin Eddie said, and I don't know if you guys watched any of his post-game interview, but I did. And the Twittersphere did as well. Cousin Eddie had the audacity to say the last game of 2020 the team played was 11 days ago. That is not a classy move to dismiss the game that your team just played.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, got really beaten, to say it doesn't matter. Don't even care. We played our game against Alabama. That was the last one. Doesn't matter about this Oklahoma team. If I'm Oklahoma, I'm pissed. If I'm the team that just left everything I had on the field, I'm pissed. Dan Mullen, bring it on.
I was going to say, that's not something that you want to hear as a player either. I mean, like you said, these guys, regardless of how bad they got beat, these guys played their hearts out. And so for him to just say, well, the game didn't happen.
And for most of those guys, it quite literally is, most of those seniors, it is their last game. Getting to the NFL is not guaranteed. It's really, really hard. And most of them aren't going to go do that. It's a very small percentage that actually get the ability to do that. And I think you guys have all seen my issues with Dan Mullen as a leader leading up to this season. I do not think he as a leader sets a good precedent for his team. He doesn't set a good attitude in the locker room. He's very cavalier. He just shoots off. And I don't know if he thinks it's cute, but it's not. It's very unbecoming. And if I were him, we need a little attitude adjustment and maybe some training in the off season, because this is not how you conduct yourself as a leader of a major Power 5 university.
Yeah.
Jesse going all in on Uncle Eddie. I love it. I love it.
I am so annoyed with
okay, wait. Hold on now. In the rankings of coaches that have
Jimbo Fisher is higher,
Jesse,
just to save you some time.
Does Jimbo Fisher getting a little hot in that first spot?
Jimbo's getting his seat's getting a little hot. They're getting very close.
Oh man.
I digress. I'm sorry. I am done with.
No, you're good. It's all valid points. Matt, twofold. I want to get your thoughts. First off, on just this game and the blowout, but then second of all, your thoughts on players opting out.
Well, I can tell you right now, if you had told me that Kyle Trask was going to go for 158 yards and 3 interceptions in this game, I would have been like, there's absolutely zero shot of that happening. And boy, howdy, did he not look good. Didn't look good at all. I'm not sure what the problem was, because I don't think we talked about Oklahoma in the beginning of this or earlier in the season. I don't recall talking about their tough as nails defense.
No.
Where'd this come from?
I don't remember Oklahoma at all.
No, they didn't talk about it at all.
No, not really.
I forgot they played football.
Apparently Florida did too.
Crazy. Got
They just don't care that they play football.
Right. Best team played 20 days ago.
Yeah.
I can't believe he said that.
So here's the deal.
Well,
can you guys imagine if Trask would have won the Heisman? Because voting for the Heisman was done
before this game.
It was like right before Christmas, wasn't it? It was not long before that. So can you imagine if he had this performance and then just a few short days later, hey, he won the Heisman. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, that would have been on par. You don't remember a couple of years ago when Jason White, well, this is 20 years ago now, Jason White won the Heisman, and then he went like He threw 4 picks in the national championship game that year.
Right.
I'm just imagining what dumb stuff Dan Mullen would have said had Kyle Trask won the Heisman.
Oh Lord, I don't want to think about it.
know.
But anyway, so Kyle Trask obviously did not live up to the measurement here. Oklahoma came out of nowhere on this. I didn't anticipate this. I take back my previous statement about take back my previous statement about Oklahoma having to eat cereal off a plate because they choke when a bowl's involved. I said that. I'm owning that. I'm taking it back now. I'm a man. I'm 36. I can handle it.
Not 40 yet.
I'll own it. Come after me. So listen, if you're in Oklahoma Twitter, which I don't even know if that's a thing, Sooner Twitter, what do you call it? You can tag me. It's at _Fortson. Anyway, I don't remember what my Twitter tag is. Anyhow,
that sounds right.
He's gotten so far away from Vol Twitter. He's like, I don't even know.
Right,
I don't even
right.
know.
No, it's just, I don't associate with those people anymore. They're crazy. They're almost like Trump supporters. Anyhow,
wow.
on there. Ooh, might need to edit that one out there, Wes.
Tone it down.
Sorry. But listen,
this is our sanctuary and escape from politics right now. So.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. As far as players opting out, several years ago, I had a problem with that because it was the rah, how dare you need to have loyalty to your institution. And now I'm more of the idea that, and I hate to be this, what's the word, nihilistic about it, this cynical, college football for a lot of people is a step to get to the NFL. Let's call it what it is. I don't begrudge a kid taking the decision to safeguard their career.
No.
And the potential payday that they could get for a signing day bonus. I don't begrudge them at all. So, I mean, the idea of, but on the flip side of that, like the idea of like, and I'll use a Tennessee reference here, the idea of not seeing Peyton Manning play in his last bowl game because he's going to the draft, it doesn't sit right.
I just imagine if Kyle Trask had decided to sit out, right? Like Heisman,
he'd have been
Heisman voting was
he'd been
done.
top 5 pick.
Yeah, Heisman voting was done. He's a top draft pick.
Right.
Imagine one bad hit and he's out.
Both the Kyles.
I mean,
are
imagine.
gone.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like
we
tough,
wasted
right?
both the Kyles.
We lost our Kyles. It's tough because like I absolutely agree. You've got to think of that payday. I mean, your draft stock if you get hurt is like
yeah, and
you don't get that signing bonus, all that. But at the same time, it's like the quarterbacks you never really see sit out. Like they can't. I mean, they could, but so I don't know. I struggle with it. I struggle.
Yeah,
There's no right answer.
To me, it's just kind of, and you're right, Jesse. There's no real right answer to it because at the end of the day, it's a decision that they have to make for themselves. It's a personal decision. I get it. I hate the way that it affects other people, though. Namely, like you said, other seniors who may not have a future beyond college football, who this is their last game, period, or what have you. So, that's the part that I don't like. So, but I don't know what the remedy is for it.
If you're one of those proponents, sorry, Wes, I didn't mean to jump all over you there.
No, you're fine.
But if you're one of those proponents that doesn't like it when seniors sit out football games, there's an easy solution to this. Make it a playoff.
Exactly.
Because if you make it a playoff, they're gonna play.
Well, like we talked about, Kyle
nobody
Pitts,
sits out the Natty. Like not one person is like, can't play, can't play. Everyone goes for it.
You have 8 teams that have players who have an incentive to stick around. And let's be honest, a lot of your top picks are going to come from those teams. So people are going to get to see the top talent perform in bowl games, in playoff games. So
and arguably finally get to see them play against other top talent, which this season we hadn't got yet. I mean, we had in the SEC to an extent, but we hadn't got to see them play out of conference at all.
Right.
So it's good judgment.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to the next game, and that was number 24 Tulsa at 6-2 versus Mississippi State at 3-7. That was Thursday, December the 31st at noon on ESPN. That was a Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl from M.on.G. Carter Stadium in Fort Worth, Texas. Mississippi State won this one 28-26, and nobody got the point once again because we didn't have any faith in them. But to be honest, they didn't really give us any reason to. So at least for the majority of the season. So interesting to watch this game and how Tulsa really just kind of dominated the stats. If you look at it, 484 total yards, to State's 271. 27 first downs for Tulsa to Mississippi State's 16. But those 2 turnovers, huge, and the deciding factor in this one, obviously, as one of them at the end of the third quarter was a 90-yard pick 6 by Emmanuel Forbes. So in a day that was, surrounded by a lot of rainfall and such, points were kind of at a premium. So they took advantage definitely there. Look, first off, I want to say a huge win for Mississippi State and Mike Leach on this one. Mm-hmm. Matt, I want to start with you first on this one and your thoughts just on this win by State and Mike Leach.
Let's be honest here. Mississippi State's had a rough season, a very, very rough season. They stumbled out of the gate. They didn't look very good most of the season. And then to cap it off with a win over a top 25 bowl opponent, I call that a pretty successful thing. I'm trying to figure out how in the heck Tulsa got 484 yards of total offense and still lost this game, because that makes no sense to me whatsoever. Right. I didn't have a chance to watch it or the highlights, but golly, like if you're putting that many yards up, you shouldn't be struggling like that.
Turnovers.
Well, the turnover,
it's going to be a theme actually in these next several games. Turnovers key. So, sorry, continue.
No, that was it. I was saying I don't understand how you have that many yards and still come up short. But right. I mean, big win for Leach, big win for the program. The ending made things a little yeah, because we'll talk about that in a second. And it's just, but I mean, still something to build on. I mean, if you had told me that they were going to have a bowl win over a top 25 team at the end of the season, I would have laughed at you. I'd have been like, no, no, that's not happening. Not this Mississippi State team. You must be thinking of another Mississippi State team from like 10 years ago, because that ain't happening. But it did.
And that's an excellent point. And Jesse, it's a huge building block building towards next season, right? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you need that to help with recruiting, because let's be honest, the rest of the season is not going to help with recruiting, right? The thing that's going to get people to Mississippi State, because I'll be honest, I've been to Starkville. There's not a lot that would get me to go to Starkville. You need a personality like Mike Leach. You need players that gel with him, gel with his offense, which hopefully he can get in, because right now, as we've seen this season, not his players, not necessarily gelling with his style of offense. But you need that top 25 bowl win to say, hey, we're improving. We won against a top 25 opponent. We finished the season strong. You need something to help that recruiting, because otherwise you're just going to see another season like you did this past year going into the 2021 season. But are we going to talk about the fight? Because
huge brawl at the end. And honestly, I kept trying to find out. I kept trying to find out like how it even started, and apparently
doesn't even know.
I was gonna say it seemed like it was just back and forth, and it just
before the game.
Something
happened pre-game.
They were chippy throughout the game, and
he said he thinks it's something that happened before the game.
Yeah.
And he would need to watch the film to figure out what happened. But a player from Tulsa came off the field with a concussion after being in the bottom of the dog pile, where an article said they were kicking each other.
Yeah. Well, interesting comments from Mike Leach after the game. I want to play those, and then immediately following those comments is some comments that Kirk Herbstreit made about Leach's post-game interview, and it's really interesting. So I want you guys to hear it.
By the way, Herbie.
Well, I mean, this is a football game, so we're not going to be tearing cloth over this deal. I mean, somebody went to a football game and somebody got hit. I mean, there's a point where I'm not going to lose my mind over it, but I just don't like that, we were undisciplined at some situations where I thought if you control yourself mentally and emotionally, you put yourself in a better position.
Mike Leach should be embarrassed. His post-game interview and what he said, hey, it's football. Hey, it's physical. It's going to happen. Are you kidding me, Mike? You should be embarrassed about your program and what it did. And then after the game, the guy's being proud, high-fiving, walking off. This is a black eye for the sport. Maybe you don't care about the sport, dude. I mean, it's as bad as it can be watching that for people that are sitting around watching college football, and that breaks out. I mean, it's just another black eye for college football.
Whoo, man, some.
Listen, I need somebody to get the sugar because that is the tea, baby. Good Lord.
Vaj.
I mean,
almighty.
I don't even know what to say after that.
All in.
As I say,
usually not a huge Kirk fan. Yes.
Yeah, that was. I was somewhat surprised.
I could take that and apply it to Dan Mullen. I could apply it to Mike Leach. Maybe I'm wrong. Do you guys remember this many fights or stupidity happening in college football in previous seasons in recent years? Yeah. I just don't feel like we had this many fights or stupid stuff.
I remember was it Oregon Boise State where the guy sucker punched the guy in the head? He was standing right next to him. Yeah. I don't even remember who that was. And
what was the brawl down in Coral Gables when Miami played FAU or FIU or one of those other Florida schools? Like 15, no, wasn't FAMU. Like 15 years ago, a guy is meleeing into this giant pile of people with a helmet. I mean,
right.
It happens.
I know it happens. I just feel like we've gotten more this year. Maybe it's just because I've had nothing else to focus on but college football. Like there's nothing else happening in the world other than destruction. So it just seems amplified. But I agree with Herbie. It's, again, as a coach, to condemn this kind of behavior. You have to teach your players, and I'm going to sound like Butch Jones and I hate to do it, but to not only be good players, but good people. That is part of your job. You spend more time with them than anybody else. So to set a tone in a locker room, you need to condemn this kind of behavior. You are no longer a 15-year-old playing high school sports. You are on a national stage and you are adults. Legally, you're all adults. Act like it. I don't know what started it. I don't know what happened, but you got to act like it. And then they're 20-year-olds. As a coach, you got to say, can't have that behavior. Can't have it. Don't say it's football. That's not football.
Well, and especially as he's trying to build a winning culture, I mean, that kind of undisciplined behavior is going to lose you football games. So to just excuse it and say, oh, well, it's football, guys are going to get hit. That's the kind of dismissiveness that's just going to let your guys continue in this behavior. And it's not going to be good. Obviously it's bad for the people who get punched, in a fight like this, but I mean, even in terms of just football games, it's going to come back to bite you eventually. So I don't know.
Nobody's mama is going to encourage them to go to a program that a coach is like, I get punched a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Parents have a voice in where their children go. I mean, it's up to the kids ultimately, but if you don't think their parents are in their ears, you're wrong.
Right. Yep. All right. Did you guys have any more about that game before we move on?
No.
All right. Let's go ahead and get to number 8, Cincinnati at 9-0 versus number 9 Georgia at 7-2. That was January the 1st at noon on ESPN.
Game.
Yes.
Shook.
No doubt. And it was Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Georgia winning this one 24-21. I got the points in this one. But I mean, unbelievably close here. Now, look, in watching this game, fourth quarter, if you're a Dogs fan, things pretty dark. I mean, 21-10, not only 21-10, but
y'all were unwell.
Not just that it's 21-10, but you're really not playing your best football either. I mean, yeah, we'd have some good plays, some breakout runs, some long passes. Then follow it up with, some bonehead play, a stupid pick in the end zone like JT had in the first half. Other silly mistakes. So even though it kind of felt like Georgia had a lot of momentum going, mistakes just brought them right back to Cincinnati. And so, some big plays in this game. Obviously, Jack Podlesny makes those 3 field goals, including the game winner. Defensive lineman Jordan Davis blocked Cincinnati's field goal in the second quarter. I mean, that's huge, and especially as you look at the total there. So let's just take a moment and talk about Jack Podlesny. Walk-on kicker. Nobody knows who he is. before the season starts. It's replacing possibly the best kicker that we've ever had at Georgia in Rodrigo Blankenship. And his longest kick of his career is going to be in a New Year's Six bowl, Peach Bowl. And it's not like, we're tied. So if he makes, or if he misses it, it's okay. No, he makes it, we win. He misses, we lose. And
wasn't it like 2 seconds left?
Well, after the field goal, yes.
Yeah.
I think there was like 5, and then after he kicked it, it was 2 after that, or however many was on before that. But he just nailed it, and with some room to spare. And he celebrated by kneeling and giving thanks. I mean, just what a moment, and just it was just amazing to watch. I'm not gonna lie, I got a little teary-eyed, but man, Jesse, let me start with you this time. And just obviously, Georgia had a good fourth quarter, scoring 14 unanswered. But what are your thoughts just on this game and how it went in general?
You gotta play tough throughout. At one point, I'm at home, I'm watching the game, but I start to head downtown to go watch the game in a bar because I can do that here. And then
right.
Kind of set up to watch the Bama game, and as I'm going, I'm getting texts that are just like woof, and I'm like, is Cincinnati, did I sleep on them? Are they good, or is UGA losing this? And everyone's like, no, UGA is losing this. Not to take away from Cincy being up at some point, but I really just think that UGA, I don't know if they felt like Cincy wasn't a big opponent for them or what it was, but it was a little bit of a sloppy play going into the fourth quarter. And as a Bama fan, I've been in that situation where the game is on the line with a field goal, and it's terrifying. It is the worst feeling ever. Usually mine doesn't end in elation. It's usually depression. But I mean, at the end of the day, my philosophy, whether it's my team, whether it's any team, like that, it shouldn't come down to field goals. It should never come down to just your kicker. You got to do better. And I don't know, Wes, maybe you can enlighten us. I don't know why the play was sloppy like it was, but I felt it was really sloppy on UGA's side of the ball.
I think, and Matt, you alluded to it earlier, it is the perfect trap game, not only because if you're Georgia, you're wishing that you had a better game, although obviously you dug yourself this hole. There's a few opt-outs, although I don't think there was any big enough to really, to change anything. But you're right, Matt. It's a perfect trap game because you kind of you might underestimate your opponent, but also for Cincinnati, this is their Super Bowl. This is their playoff game. This is their chance to.
And they're pissed because they're an undefeated team that didn't get in a top 4 spot.
Exactly, and they understand that if they even want to be in the conversation next year, they have to be convincing in this bowl game. For them, it's not just a one-year thing. Especially if you're a group of 5 team, it's not just this year. You have to think, I need to impress them. So next year they'll be like, oh, maybe we should include them this year, at least under the current setup. So, you're right, Matt. What were your thoughts on this one?
I like I said, thought it was a trap game. I thought that Cincinnati was going to come in wanting to prove something. Georgia was probably going to be thinking, hey, this is they don't have mid-majors anymore, but this is a smaller team. We'll be able to kick them around a little bit. They'll keep it close for a quarter and then we'll be done. But that wasn't the case. I'm a little surprised that Georgia was able to pull this off because I think going into, I don't have it right in front of me, they were down by 2 scores going into the fourth quarter, were they not?
It was 21-10 going into the fourth.
So 2 scores. Yeah. So I just, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. I kind of feel like Kirby probably didn't get them prepped like he should have. And I'm not going to do that, Wes. I'm not going to do that. I could see the wheels turning. You're thinking this is going to be a Izzy Markrick version 2.0 conversation again, but I'm not going to do that. But I'm just saying this is some Markrick kind of stuff.
Right. We're going to find out a little bit more next year because we have a lot of people returning. Fortunately, a lot of people have said they're going to return. So it'll be a little bit more of a, indication of what he can do as a coach, I guess. But obviously every year is kind of a lesson into itself. So, all right, let's go ahead and get to Auburn versus Northwestern. That's Auburn at 6-4 versus number 14 Northwestern at 6-2. And that was also New Year's Day at 1 p.m. on ABC at the Verbo Citrus Bowl from Camping World Stadium in Orlando. Northwestern won this one 35-19. I got the points in this one. This was just bad. And
I kind of loved it.
Yeah, from an SEC standpoint, bad.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I can understand.
I spent the last 4 years in Chicago. This is their team. They're like the baby ones. They're like, you can go to Northwestern game. It's fine. They're the smart kids. Beautiful campus, by the way. Obviously, I want SEC to do well because we get more money for our conference. But it was kind of cool to see the underdogs of the Big Ten after working for the Big Ten, after being in the same city as them for several years. And I'm a Bama fan, and Auburn lost, so it's kind of funny.
I was going to say, that's kind of like a win-win for you.
Yeah.
But I mean, the tone was set early in this game. Northwestern scored on a deep pass, and then Auburn promptly followed that up by going 3 and out. And that just sort of was an indication of how things were going to go. It seemed like Auburn was playing from behind this whole game. And especially late in the third, early in the fourth was when the wheels really seemed to fall off. When Northwestern just let lose a flurry of points. Interesting note here, Tank Bigsby was out for medical reasons for Auburn, and then also Anthony Schwartz, their speedster, he was out as well. So, I mean, I think those are two big losses for Auburn. Again, not making excuses, but it is a factor. So, Jesse, you've already kind of shared a little bit. Do you have anything else to add to this game, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think Northwestern's defense did a great job. And I think them as a team overall this season, and hopefully in upcoming seasons, are a team to play with. They're not the team to snooze on anymore. They're not that cupcake that the Big Ten can count on. You can still probably count on Rutgers, but they're not the Vanderbilt of the Big Ten anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what they were. They're the smart school. They're the ones that everyone's like, well, you still got to go to Northwestern to play. I think they're building a decent football program there, and they're not somebody that you should sleep on. Their coach, and I'm forgetting his name, Pat Fitzgerald, walked into the game looking like a dad going to a barbecue. Loved that. Just shorts and a short sleeve polo, and he was ready in his little tennis shoes. But I think the thing that I'm really finding interesting after watching Auburn and going into next season, yes, this was a team that was being led by an interim head coach. As we all remember, Gus Bus got kicked to the curb. So that's a factor for sure.
I still don't agree with, just so we're clear on that.
No. But I don't think, and maybe you guys disagree, I don't think Bo Nix is guaranteed a starting spot next year. I think next season we're going to have a quarterback battle on the Plains, and I'm very interested to see it because I have not seen from the Auburn games. I've watched the highlights, the stats, the progression that you should see in a quarterback from a freshman season to a sophomore season. And I think whoever they recruit, whoever sits behind him right now, might have a decent shot at beating him out for that starting spot because he may have been handpicked by Gus Malzahn, but Gus is gone.
Yeah. And I'm really intrigued to see, especially when we get into our recruiting episode, which should be coming up, not next episode, but the one after, to see how each one of these classes is shaping up. So, yeah.
Auburn also gets transfers all the time, too.
Right.
They'll get a quarterback transfer.
But I definitely agree with you that the development just hasn't really been there. But who knows? Maybe next year with the new system, maybe he will develop more. Maybe we'll see a completely different Bo Nix. But right now, we haven't really seen what we want to see. Matt, what are your thoughts on this game?
I don't like an SEC team losing to a Big Ten team at all. I don't have anything personally against Northwestern. This is just a bad look. And there's a lot of factors that went into it. Like you said, they were playing two very key positions down. They also had an interim head coach. It's It's not a good situation, and the Auburn faithful have to kind of be scratching their heads, going, "Let's go. What are we doing here?" Not a good look. Not a fan. Not a fan at all. Have I gotten any bloody points in the pick'em? By the way, I have not noticed.
Not this week, actually.
No. Ouch. Ouch.
So
that hurts a lot.
So hold on, don't get ahead of ourselves here, but it's going to be, this final pick is crucial, is all I'm going to say. So, all right, next we had number 4 Notre Dame at 10-1 versus number 1 Alabama at 11-0. New Year's Day at 4:00 on ESPN. Rose Bowl game presented by Capital One, and that's the CFP semifinal from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Bama winning this one 31-14. I'm trying not to smile. And Jesse getting the points in this one. And don't forget, this one was worth 4. So, Jesse, you had cause to be super happy about this game, obviously, for Bama's sake, but then also for your sake as well. So I want you to kind of share your thoughts on this game. And then I have a really interesting stat that I want to share with everybody that's, not meant to make a point at all or anything like that. But
this game was great. I got to watch this game with one of my alumni friends that I got to go to school with, and got to watch it, like I mentioned, in a bar, beer, and bad food, and just screaming with my jersey on. So it felt like normal life, which was really, really exciting, especially for this game. I think you guys all know, with the shows leading up to this, that I want to beat Notre Dame really bad. I have an unnecessary aggressiveness towards Notre Dame. And I walked into the bar. I got there before my friends, and there was this lone Notre Dame fan that I got next to. No, I was nice to him.
Oh, okay.
I got next to him at the bar. I was just trying to order a drink, and this guy's just sitting there, and I was like, "Hey, sorry." And he's like, "It's okay." And he was like, "Is that a Bama jersey?" And I was like, "Yeah, it is." And he goes, "Well, if you hear me cursing Bama, it's not really me cursing Bama. It's me cursing Notre Dame." And I was like, "Ah, totally, my dude." And I was like, "If you hear me cursing Notre Dame, it's me cursing Notre Dame." And he goes, he already had an empty glass next to him, and I looked at it, and it was an empty Irish car bomb, and I was like, "Oh, the game hasn't even started yet, my dude." And then he goes, "Bartender, can you just bring me another?" And I assumed he meant all water.
Yeah.
No. This man was doing solo Irish car bombs, and I can only assume that is the reason he left before halftime, but I don't know. I hope he's doing well. I also
love, Jesse, I love that when you shared this, that there was a Notre Dame fan there, and I said, "Oh no, your original or your initial reaction was not, he was nice to me. It was, oh, don't worry, I was nice to him."
I'm known for altercation. Bama's 5-0 at AT&T Stadium with a pair of CFP semifinal wins there. Happy about that. Fighting Irish have gone 32 seasons since winning the last national title with a 12-0 record, and that was under Lou Holtz, my friends, in 1988. I was not born.
Lou.
I was not born yet.
You're a child,
baby. But this one, anytime they had a chance of momentum, it seemed to just go away. It was not great. The outcome was not unexpected, I don't think. I think we all kind of called it. This is going to sound really snotty, and I don't mean it, but maybe you guys agree. I didn't expect us to only score 31 points. I thought we would score more. I'm not disappointed in it. I'm just surprised. We were a 3 TD favorite, but yeah, this was amazing. We had 437 total yards, which is our lowest since 414 against Missouri in our opener.
Gotta get it together, Jesse.
I know. I know.
How
DeVonta
dare you.
Smith, I know Heisman voting closed before this game, but if there were ever a doubt of who needed to win the Heisman and who eventually did, I think DeVonta Smith just cemented that in this game. Najee Harris, I also think, I know he was 5th runner in the Heisman, but watching him in this game was absolutely amazing to see him hurdling a man.
Right.
Hurdling a man. I would have pulled a hamstring, a calf, broken a hip, whatever. man should have been in the top 4 of the Heisman because damn, he's good. But overall, just so happy with this team. So impressed with the offense and the defense. And I'm excited for Monday.
Yeah. Matt, your thoughts?
This is exactly what we've been talking about. And I'm going to save it for the mic a little bit later because we're going to talk about this. Notre Dame shouldn't have been in this ballgame. They shouldn't have been. And so as a result, Bama beat the brakes off of them. And yeah, you could make the argument that, yeah, it's just 20 points. Beat the brakes off them. Get out of here, Irish. You didn't belong in the deep end of the swimming pool. Bye-bye. So
Floaties.
Here we are. Yeah, even with the kitty little water wings, you're out. So, yeah, Bama looking pretty strong going in. I am curious to see how things are going to match up against you-know-who in the Natty. It's going to pain me to say this, but I think that Bama has their number. But we'll see. We'll talk about that in a minute, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I just really felt like Bama had control of whatever they wanted to do in this one. And maybe that had something to do with the final score. Maybe they were just kind of like, we don't need to prove ourselves anymore, because I think once it was like 21-7, we could basically tell what was going to happen in this game. I mean, I think we could tell before that, but definitely then. I had a little stat here, but I decided I'm going to save it for our opinion segment because it's going to go better there. So
I'm excited.
All right, let's go to our next game. That was number 23, NC State at 8-3 versus Kentucky at 4-6. And that was Saturday, January the 2nd at noon on ESPN. The Tax Slayer Gator Bowl from TIAA Bankfield in Jacksonville, Florida.
Love watching the Tax Slayer Bowl.
Yeah, Kentucky won this one 23-21 with Jesse getting the points in this one. Good to see Kentucky get a win. I mean, 3 picks by their defense as NC State's quarterback Bailey Hockman had his struggles. Just didn't really seem like he was seeing the field well, some really poor ball placement. I mean, that's not to say that he didn't have some good throws as well, but definitely they were able to take advantage of those. And then Kentucky running backs, Rose, Smoke, and Rodriguez all just had a day running the ball. It seemed like every time I turned around, they were just, running through gaping holes. And credit to, as they call them, the blue wall of Kentucky, the offensive line there. I know they're really proud of that there. And
as a Tennessee fan, you better be careful naming your offensive lines. Just saying.
Yeah.
You're looking at you, Tennessee Valley Authority.
Well, that's true. That's true. So, credit to NC State. They battled back at the end, but it was a little bit too little, too late as Kentucky was able to recover the onside kick to end the game. Which, by the way, did you guys see the flop by Kentucky defensive back Brandon Eccles? Oh, man, the best flop ever.
It was so funny. It's so fantastic.
If you haven't seen it, go look it up because it's worth a few moments of your time. It's hilarious.
No soccer player has even done that bad.
Well, I think it was almost to the point where he knew how ridiculous it was, and he was just going with it. He was just like, "I'm just gonna do my best acting here." So,
lay face down and don't move.
Yeah, and he had teammates running over there trying to resuscitate him and stuff.
Are you okay? Are you okay? Like,
it's ridiculous.
The guy he literally just.
Yeah.
Tapped on his shoulder.
It was.
I mean, he shoved him, but it definitely wasn't like that. So, Matt, I want to start with you first. Obviously, you're talking about Kentucky's offensive line and their audacity to name themselves. But what are your thoughts on this game and just Kentucky getting this win?
I'm just telling you, it's a bad idea, fellas. You may want to calm down with that kind of talk, because last time we did that, it didn't end well because the very next game's when we started our skid. But that being said, kudos to Kentucky. Kentucky didn't have the most successful season this season. A little bit of success here, but I mean, you finished the season 4-6 in a 10-game SEC season. It's kind of iffy. But you beat an 8-3 NC State team. I'd call that a dub. NC State's a decent football program. They were able to do what they needed to get the win. And that's good. It's, again, something else that Kentucky can build on. For the last couple of years, we've been looking at Kentucky and saying, hey, they're getting better and better and better. This might have been a step back this year. But, again, you finished the season with a good bowl win over a solid team. I consider that a success.
Mm-hmm. Three picks by NC State to Kentucky, 0 turnovers. Again, turnovers, a big story in the game here. Jesse, what are your thoughts in this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just kind of hit the nail on the head. You can't have 3 turnovers and expect to win a ball game, and that's great on Kentucky for being able to get those turnovers, being able to force them into also pay attention and grab those turnovers. I think that's huge. That's something that you have to be able to capitalize on, because yeah, you can absolutely get those turnovers, but if you don't do anything with them, you're still never going to win a ball game. Somebody can hand you something all they want, but if you don't do anything with it, it doesn't really matter. So I think this is encouraging for Kentucky. They need a little bit of encouragement. We've said it all season. This season's going to have an asterisk next to it, and I'm sure the coaches will remind everybody of that when they're recruiting. But I think this is a little bit of encouragement for them, and hopefully can help them continue to recruit and do better next season. Because last season, I think we were a little encouraged by them. This one, not so much. But I think the talent's there, and I think that it's not super hard to recruit to Kentucky. I think it's a fun place to go. It's a fun school. So hopefully this is what they needed to get recruiting kind of sparked for this year.
We'll see how that goes, because some interesting transfer portal news coming out of Kentucky recently that we'll talk about in our news segment. So
interesting.
Next, let's talk about Ole Miss at 4-5 versus number 11 Indiana at 6-1, and that was Saturday, January the 2nd at 12:30 on ABC. The Outback Bowl from Raymond James Stadiums in Tampa, Florida. Ole Miss getting this win, 26-20. Now, look.
Was it the coconut shrimp or the blooming onion that won?
Yeah.
It was onion?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, Ole Miss had the lead 20-6 through 3 quarters, but credit to Indiana. They came back and made it 20-20. And then Ole Miss did manage to drive down and take the lead. But ironically, the defense for Ole Miss was able to get a stop when it needed to and, preserve the win. So, again, turnovers key with Indiana having a pick and a fumble in this game. So, Jesse, I want to start with you first this time. What were your thoughts on Ole Miss and their ability to pull this win out?
Yeah, they held off a pretty decent Indiana team. I think when we were talking about Ohio State, one of the many times we've talked about them, Indiana seemed to be the only opponent worth talking about that they had played. And they're a pretty decent team this season. So for an Ole Miss defense that has holes like Swiss cheese, they did a decent job here. I mean, we've never really questioned the offense. I think we've had a couple times we've looked at the quarterback and been like, what are you doing? But for the most part, they've done pretty well. And for their defense to finally, I don't want to say catch up, but get closer to where they were at offensively, that's got to be encouraging for this Ole Miss team, because it has not been encouraging. And it's not like they played a really terrible opponent. Indiana's, not somebody to kind of scoff at. So maybe things looking up, or it could have been just a flash in the pan. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, obviously none of us thought that this would happen, because none of us got the point, but Ole Miss taking care of the football though, 0 turnovers. So that's encouraging. As you said, Jesse, sometimes it's kind of like feast or famine with Matt Corral. It seems it's either like 0 picks or 6 of them. So
literally.
Matt, what were your thoughts on Old Lane getting a bowl win here at the Outback Bowl?
I mean, look at Old Lane getting a bowl win right out of the gate. Even if they did finish 5-5 at this point, so whatever. No, I think again, just like we said with Mike Leach, just like we said with Kentucky, this is something to build on. Indiana had a very good team as far as the Big Ten goes. I mean, Indiana made a lot of waves early in the season. Only had 1 loss going into this, and that's against I think it was against Ohio State, was it not? I don't recall exactly, but yeah, that might have been it. This is not a slouch of a team in Indiana. So that tells you right there the discrepancy between talent in the SEC versus the Big Ten. But we'll talk about that a little bit later too. So yeah, this is a big deal for Ole Miss. To get them that bowl win, to get them a little bit of something to build on. There's a lot of buzz around Lane Kiffin right now, especially on the recruiting trail, from what I've been reading and hearing from a couple of different sources. So it's good times in where's Oxford? There we go. I almost said Starkville. I had a brain fart.
They're close.
they would be very, very angry at that.
Yes, they would.
Yeah. All right, so the final game that we have to talk about here from the bowl week was number 5 Texas A&M at 8-1 versus number 13 North Carolina at 8-3, and that was Saturday, January the 2nd at 8 p.m. on ESPN. That was the Capital One Orange Bowl from Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. This one was back and forth. So in watching this one, it was, A&M would score, Carolina would score, and it was just back and forth all along until about midway through the fourth. It seemed like A&M was just able to get that separation and able to get some stops on defense, and ultimately pulled ahead by a couple scores to win 41-27. The way things worked out, Jesse and I both got the points in this one because it tied, even in the tiebreaker. So,
of course,
Matt's shaking his head. So,
it's like one of those races where the thoroughbred's out front, and then all of a sudden, the thoroughbred starts getting tired, and the other horses catch up. It's just like my fantasy football season. I demolish people all season long, and then get out of the first round and
same.
The game itself, though, really intriguing. And also, I noticed, and I'm going to get I don't have the stat right in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that Kellen Mond surpassed Johnny Manziel for the most yards from scrimmage, I believe, by an A&M player. Anyway, he passed Johnny Football in something, and I'm pretty sure that was the stat. I don't think that we necessarily give Kellen Mond the credit that he deserves, but he's had quite a career there at A&M and continues to put out good numbers. Matt, I'd like to start with you first this time. What were your thoughts on A&M and their ability to kind of just put NC North Carolina away there at the end?
Again, another solid 8-3 team out of the ACC. And again, the ACC is kind of suspect. We saw that when we saw Clemson play Ohio State. But again, a solid team on paper. Texas A&M comes in, takes care of business, no turnovers, gets a plenty of yards on the ground, holds onto the ball more than UNC does. They're able to put this thing away. I do want to talk about how Jimbo didn't want to get wet with the Gatorade bath.
What a baby!
But
I thought it was hilarious. I was just watching him just running away.
I feel like they should have played the Benny Hill music. It was ridiculous. But again, solid win for Texas A&M.
Because he's a lizard person, and if you get him wet, you'll see.
Jesse, please stop with the irrational hatred.
Lizard person.
In fact, Jesse, you may want to plug your ears for this next one.
I have nice things to say.
You do?
2 weeks in a row.
Wow, look at that. So yeah, I think Jimbo's earning that paycheck this year. I think they've done a pretty good job. I really would have liked to have seen Texas A&M Bama one more time. I really would have. And I think that would have been a great matchup. I think that would have been a really good game. And I think that would have been a solid game. I would love to have seen those two.
I think
games.
Anything would have been better than Bama Notre Dame.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
Absolutely.
But yeah, kudos to A&M. They got something to build on for next season.
Yeah.
I think A&M came in there pissed off that they got scrubbed out of the top 4. I think they made a case for it. They said it multiple times. And Ohio State got in there, and we've talked about it at length, and I won't go into it again. But if I'm A&M, I'm going into the game that you gave me, and I'm going to show you there why I deserve to be somewhere else. And I agree with you. I think watching Bama A&M would have been a more entertaining game than Bama Notre Dame. But of course, that wouldn't have gotten the same ratings, and it wouldn't have appeased one of those other conferences, even though they're not even in that conference really. But yeah, I agree. I think if I'm A&M, I'm Jimbo Fisher. I'm building on this year, and I'm going to make sure next year that no one can count me out.
Yeah. I think, even Notre Dame fans kind of knew what was up, though, right? And just judging
video of the lady that's like, God, no.
Yeah, I was going to say that video. Plus, it sounds like the guy who was sitting next to you at the bar kind of already had given up before the game started.
Dude, he was so unwell.
Yeah. So it would have been interesting. But kudos to A&M for doing what they needed to do in the game that they did get. And that concludes the bowl game's current pick'em standings. Jesse?
Sorry, just to go back to A&M really quick. I'm going to be nice. I appreciate – it's going to pay me to say this.
You need a moment.
I appreciate A&M and Jimbo Fisher treating this game as a game and not saying that the last game we played was the game that it was. No. Their players
Matt's
showed
writing
up.
stuff down.
I know.
No, I got wait. I got to find a pen. Oh, that's not it. That's not a pen.
Come on, Matt. We're digital these days. Come on now.
Hold on.
No,
just wait a second.
There's a flask.
No,
I might need
I don't know where. Don't know where my bloody pen went. Go ahead, Jesse. I'll just.
I appreciate them. Legitimately got snubbed out of a playoff, and they still played as though it were. They took it seriously, and Jimbo Fisher didn't make light of it in his post-game conference. I'm looking at you, Florida. Dan Mullen, I hate to say it, but take a cue from Jimbo at this point.
Oh man, I think I need to save these. I don't think I've ever heard that. I never heard that from Jesse. You've basically taken Jimbo and elevated him above Mullen at this point. So I guess you're right, Matt. I guess he's kind of like, I guess he's been replaced. Jimbo's been replaced.
I still think Jimbo is trash. I just think he's handling his program at this point a little bit better than Dan Mullen is. Right.
Yeah. Well, no arguments there. The current pick'em standings, Jesse leading the pack now. So 27, and I have 26, and Matt has 25. And I was about to say that, you didn't have the lead throughout the whole season, but now that it counts,
I was losing the whole season.
I was going to say you were way behind, well, not way behind, but you were behind for a majority of the season. And then, in the clutch, you come through. So kudos. And Matt's sighing over there. But the truth is that really whoever wins the pick in this last one is the one who's going to win. And we've never had that on this show. So I'm actually personally pretty stoked about that because all three of us have a chance to win the $100. So I think it's pretty awesome. Next, let's talk about some of the news that we have around the league.
Here's the news.
Okay. All right. First off, as we've kind of talked about amongst ourselves and the possibilities, it did finally happen. Steve Sarkisian is hired as the head coach of the Texas Longhorns. As the plan stands, he will coach in the national championship with Alabama and then fly from Miami to Austin to begin his new job as the 28th head coach of the Texas Longhorns. So we'll see how that goes. I honestly, well, Jesse, I want to get your thoughts as an Alabama fan first, and then let's talk about some of the more specifics for Steve himself.
Another team poached an Alabama coordinator. Shocking. Someone went back through the Nick Saban Coaches Rehabilitation Center, and they were like, "Oh, let's get him."
I just want to know why nobody's claiming.
I'm salty because it happens every season.
Why?
And because
because you guys win every season.
But
it makes sense.
It's part of the
back
deal.
On good terms. I was like, Sark, we're back on good terms. You're not going to leave us. You just took the pay raise. You said no to Auburn. Blah blah blah. I was happy with you. Here's the thing. There's two things. First of all, Sark, you did this to us last time. You quite literally did the exact same thing just for the NFL. And you made some really bad coaching decisions in that national championship game, and we lost. I swear if that happens again, don't you ever come to Tuscaloosa. You are not welcome. Second, where careers go to die.
You're not wrong there.
Mac Brown would have something else to say about that.
Well, those sense.
It died for a little bit. Then it got to go to North Carolina.
Let's say they kind of forced him out. But you're right. In North Carolina, he's made a rebound. But Charlie Strong, Herman. I mean, it's just
it hasn't
a tough.
Always been well.
It's a tough place to coach. You got a lot of people out there, especially with the board and stuff like that. And most of those people are quite vocal, even publicly, about how they feel about how the head coach is doing at Texas. And so it's a lot of pressure. In all
You
seriousness,
do get to hang out with Matthew McConaughey, though. So I am jealous of that.
I do wish him well. I mean, as a guy he's been through a lot, hopefully he's gotten his personal issues out of the way. And even more so because he's about to enter a high stress area. And so I really hope that he's got his stuff together because I would hate to see anything happen again. And I'm not saying that because I expect it to, but just, I wish him well. I hope it goes well for him. Matt, your thoughts?
Bama gets an offense or gets a coordinator stolen again. It's just like any other year when Bama has success. They're going to come looking for your coordinators. I agree that Texas is going to be kind of
That's tough.
Because it's a really tough place to get. I mean, unless your last name's Royal, you're fighting uphill the minute you get there. So I wish him luck. I mean, I got nothing personally against Sarkisian. I'm glad he's cleaned up his act since he was at USC, but just I don't see this ending well. But we'll just have to see.
I mean, he's a incredible offensive mind. The only thing that you really hope is that with all the loud voices out there, that they will allow him the opportunity to do his thing. And that's the thing with a program like that is, unfortunately, that's not the case a lot of times. Everybody has their own idea of how the program should be run. And hopefully they'll let him, I mean, they hired him, so hopefully they'll give him the opportunity to have his
just
own
imagining that whole like athletic department booster club being like the guy from Friday Night Lights, like the dad who was the high school booster who was just up in everybody's business all the Buddy Garrity. I just imagine all of the Texas like booster club is just a bunch of Buddy Garrity's that won't leave you alone.
Oh,
sounds
no
terrible.
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We have another fun news item for Jesse here. DeVonta Smith winning the Heisman. I know that you guys, we've kind of said that the Heisman is trash on this show, but it makes it a lot better if one of your team wins it, right? So
you enjoy watching it.
Yeah. So what do you got? What are your thoughts on DeVonta, Jesse?
I think you guys have heard all season how much I love DeVonta. He went from, I love the memes where it was like how it started, him with, catching the 2-26 pass, winning the Natty, and then him to a Heisman. Mm-hmm. He is such, and we were talking about it before the show started, he's a guy that carries himself, I think, with a very calm and quiet confidence. He lets his on-field play speak for him. He's not boisterous. He doesn't go out into the media when he's talking. He's very quiet and reserved. He reminds me a lot of Amari Cooper in the way that he handles himself. And I think his story is just fantastic. He grew up right outside of Baton Rouge, decides to come all the way to Alabama, is not necessarily our top receiver. We had Jalen Waddle. He was going to be our guy. DeVonta Smith kind of backup. He steps up. And at that point, I really think the trajectory of his career completely changed when Waddle went out, unfortunately for Waddle. Mm-hmm. He's not the biggest. He's super skinny. But his long arms, his, soft hands that kind of can catch anything. He's very agile. He can beat any secondary. I mean, he is just an absolute all-around athlete. They were showing last night him playing basketball and track and all this other stuff. I think the guy can play whatever he tries to. And the fact that his whole town was in like a community center for him is just great. And his speech was just telling people, you may not be the biggest, you may not be the strongest, and people may tell you that you might not be able to play at that level, but believe in yourself. I'm all of those things, and I'm standing right here. I think it's a great speech, and he was really quiet in all of his answers, but truly proud. I think Nick Saban nailed it on the head when he was talking about not only DeVonta but Mac Jones. They truly are not only incredible athletes, but they are great ambassadors for the university, for the program. And they just carry themselves, I think, really, really well. So as an Alabama alumni and fan, super proud to have them both on that stage in the top 4, and then also just to have DeVonta win it. It was a proud moment. I don't know the kid personally, but I teared up, started clapping. It was just really proud Tide moment there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was the one I was pulling for, simply because I think he's had the biggest impact on his team this year. Like you said,
first wide receiver to win it since what, 91?
Yeah, I think
Desmond Howard was the last one, wasn't he?
Yep.
So I understand that, the reason that he's gotten, this uptick in receptions, yards and stuff like that is because Waddle's not there. But at the same time, he's still got to make the plays, right? So and he's at even more of a disadvantage if you really want to be honest about it, because he's the defenses are not forced to spread out and cover both Waddle and him. So now they can focus on him, double teaming him and whatnot. So just the fact that he was able to still come through and make plays in the midst of all that is a testament to what a player
the
he
meme
is.
That's like Mac Jones holding a football and it says, screw it, Smitty down there somewhere. I mean, Mac Jones literally just has to lob the ball. Smith is going to catch it. He's going to be somewhere.
Right. Yeah. So he was going to be my first choice. Matt, what was your reaction?
I'm not shocked. I mean, when you look at the kid's stat line, I mean, he's obviously deserves it. I mean, 12 games played, 105 receptions, 1,641 yards total offense, 15.6 yards per catch. Yards per game. There we go. And 20 TDs. That's a lot. So, I mean, he went off, and I think he deserves it. I still think the Heisman's garbage, but if somebody's going to get it, it might as well be somebody that deserves it.
I'm glad that there was a wide receiver in there, and at least wasn't a complete quarterback show. For the most part it was, but we had a little bit of outside the ordinary.
I was going to say, it's nice to see that it's not just viewed as a quarterback award, which it has become recently.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of quarterbacks, actually, before we move on, I wanted to ask one question, and that is, I thought I heard that they believe that Waddle will be healthy for the championship. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what rumor has it. He has been cleared to play in the Natty.
Wow, that could be.
And they don't have
huge.
any tape to look at, because think about it. He ain't been on the field since what, September?
Right. Wow.
Yeah, they got no tape on him, so y'all best watch out.
When was it Pollock that said we were done?
Yeah.
Of course, you really don't.
He could argue that he said that they were done without Waddle. So if Waddle's back, then he was right.
If this is us being done, ooh.
Right.
You, David.
No, man, it is funny. Kirk Herbstreit has already had fun with him on the podcast. He was like, sometimes you just say stuff, and I just let you go because, it's going to come back to bite you. But, that way I get to have more fun watching it happen. So, sometimes you got to own what you say. And he sure did there. All right. Next we had, and it's not SEC news, but Trevor Lawrence declaring for the draft. Be interesting to see where he ends up. I mean, it's not
surprising. He got a wife to support now.
Yeah. And
did he get married?
I mean, they're engaged. They'll get married, I'm sure, before the NFL.
He proposed. Yeah, he.
Did you see that last night? That's like the only picture.
Yes.
Of him they showed over and over.
Yep. Was it just me, or during the Heisman last night, did it seem like it was like the graduation reel of like this last moment of everyone together? It was like.
How many baby pictures can we put in one highlight reel?
Right. It was almost like the only thing we need was that graduation song from Vitamin C, was it, or what? Yeah. Whoever it was, we needed that playing in the background. So we'll see where he goes. I would think that the only reason he wouldn't have declared is because he didn't want to end up on the Jets. But who is it now? Who's got the top pick?
Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's right. So they expect him to go
going
there.
To Jacksonville. Field. They're
going
to Jacksonville.
No. Jacksonville's going to do something boneheaded like draft a defensive tackle in the first.
Yeah, well, they have because they have Gardner Minshew. What else do they need?
It's true. They got the stash. So we'll see.
Wait, are we talking about an NFL quarterback or Georgia's quarterback?
We're talking about NFL. Gardner Minshew.
Right, but
but
didn't JT Shroud, or not JT Shroud? What's George's quarterback?
Daniels had the porn stash.
Didn't he have?
Minshew has like a Fu Manchu though.
I want to say that either JT has shaved it or he's trimmed it significantly because it didn't seem as obnoxious when I saw him in the bowl game. So
I think he got rid of it.
I think he's cleaned it up.
Finally sat him down and said, "Listen, you need to stop."
Yeah, because he looked somewhat normal. He's still got to get rid of the middle part, but other than that, he's looking a little bit better. So
yeah, he's rocking the like Devin Sawa Casper 1999 middle part.
Yeah. All right. Then the final little bit of news that I have here for us to talk about is Terry Wilson, who we've talked about a lot on this show, entering the transfer portal from Kentucky. He'll seek a new team for his final season of eligibility.
I did too.
What?
Yeah. So I was actually just looking him up earlier. I wanted to see what Terry Wilson's plans were. And lo and behold, he has entered the transfer portal. So that is a bummer for Kentucky, although they've had their quarterback struggles all year.
What if he goes to Auburn?
It would that would fit.
It would be.
Wouldn't it?
It would work. I mean, it would totally be right there.
That would fit
makes
things.
Sense.
But we'll see. I've always enjoyed watching his story from coming from JUCO to being, one of the more highlighted players on Kentucky's team. So I hope he finds a good spot. So that'll be interesting to watch and see where he ends up. So next we have an interesting opinion segment. So let's talk about it.
Sir, if I may venture an opinion.
I'm not really interested in your opinion, 3PO.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right, so the proposed opinion for tonight was Notre Dame should not be included in the conversation anymore for the CFP. Ever. So interesting stat that I had earlier that I was going to share, but I thought was more appropriate to go with this segment was since 1998, Notre Dame has lost all 7 New Year's Six bowls that they've played in. None of these added on to that, none of these games have been closer than 14 points. So it's not even been close. Like, do I even need to cite anything else? I mean, it's like you have a sample, a very large sample to look at to see what's going to happen. But yet we still put them in the spotlight. Again, just going back to branding. Matt, I'd like to start with you first on this one. What are your thoughts? Obviously, I know you agree, but what are your further thoughts? Why do you think that?
Well, hold on a minute. I didn't say I completely.
Okay, you just want to talk about it. Okay. What was it last show? You were like, I've come around to Notre Dame, and none of us could keep a straight face.
Brian Kelly. It was because Brian Kelly. No, Brian
Kelly's great.
Listen,
as person,
it's just Notre Dame has proven time and time again over the past 20-something odd years that they cannot hang. The sooner that people realize that Notre Dame is not the Notre Dame of the old days, Notre Dame is not a blue chip program anymore. It is name recognition only.
Right.
That is it. They can't hang with the big boys. They're on tier with Tennessee right now. They just got better press.
Right.
That's what it boils down to. They can't, every time they've gotten into a situation for years, they haven't had to play anybody big because they were independent. They could play who they wanted to. They played a couple big games here and there, mostly against people that weren't that great. And then you ended up with them getting into that postseason hullabaloo. Now this season, they had to join the ACC because of the COVID. And the ACC is historically, this is one of the worst performing ACC seasons they've had. They haven't looked good. You've had a couple teams that have been all right, but for the most part, they haven't looked great. And then they get nuked by Clemson in the ACC championship game when Clemson's at full strength.
Right.
Stop putting them in. Stop putting them in. They do not need to start every season in the top 25. They just don't.
In the 2013 BCS National Championship game, when they got obliterated by Bama, Brian Kelly's main focus was to try to make his team more physical because he noticed that they did not match up at all with Bama.
Mm-hmm.
The physicality just wasn't there. He's had 7 years to do that. And there just really wasn't a whole lot of difference. I think that they were a little more physical, and in that they weren't just able to run all over Notre Dame just at will. But I mean, they still were able to impose basically what they wanted. So it's interesting to me that in 7 years, it might have changed a little bit, but not a lot. Jesse, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I was going to say the same thing. That's what Kelly said on the selection show. He, when they said, "Are you ready to play Bama again?" And he said, "Yeah, we saw what we needed to improve on in the 2012, 2013, whatever you want to call it, Natty." And he was like, and we've had seasons to do that. And I really feel like we've done that. If this is you feeling as though you've done that, first of all, shouldn't take 7 seasons. Not for a premier program that gets this much press, that every child has seen Rudy probably at least twice, and kids like shiny gold helmets. Like, your recruiting shouldn't hurt, but good night. Do not put them starting in the top 10, top 25 until they act that they deserve it, because for the past at least 7 years, they have not.
Yeah.
And I like Brian Kelly as a person, but no.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're going to have, decent matchups because of their scheduling and stuff like that. But really, until they prove against some of their tougher opponents on their schedule that they can hang, then
they have to schedule tougher opponents.
They don't need to be up there.
Schedule.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So when they get through some of the less tough opponents, fine, whatever. Even if you want to rank them in, the low, 20 to 25 or whatever. But please don't put them up in the top teams until they've proven that they can do it. I mean, because,
I'd like to see them play Cincinnati. I would love to see that.
Yeah, I think that would be a good game.
Didn't they play Cincinnati last season?
I don't remember when's the last time. Let's see.
I would like to see them play this season. Like this season, Cincinnati team, I would have loved to see play Notre Dame. Would have loved to see A&M play Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a fun fact. Just found this out. Cincinnati and Notre Dame are playing each other next season.
Great.
Cool.
Love that.
So we'll get to see something. Now, who knows how both teams are going to look by then, but we'll see. I mean, I agree. I think that, the name recognition has got to stop. And for some of these teams, I sort of understand it, but when it's been demonstrated to you for years that this team just cannot handle the spotlight, I don't understand why we continue to thrust them into that position. It's kind of like, have you learned your lesson yet? I mean, apparently not. So
because the committee grew up with them being good.
Yeah.
Right. And also they did the same thing with Nebraska every single year up until about 10 years ago. Nebraska was always in the top 10 to start every season. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, Nebraska stinks now. We shouldn't be putting them up there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Next year, I'm really curious to see starting out where they put them, first of all, in the initial rankings. And then second of all, if, they happen to win a game or two against some lesser opponents, if
they'll
they just
be in
jump
the
them
top
up,
10. They'll at least top 25, if not top 10.
I mean, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. But I mean, we've got an insane scenario. I think I was going to say, we've got an insane scenario right here. So, all right. So that does it for our opinion segment. Let's go ahead and get to the national championship predictions. And we'll see what everybody has to say on that.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
All right, no pressure, but whoever wins this wins $100. So, gosh, this one is so hard because I think Ohio State did what we would expect them to do against Clemson being a team that's more fresh. Once you've played 6 or 7 games in a regular season, you should be in your stride as a team. But you also haven't really gotten into that attrition through injury and stuff like that as a team that's going to drag you down as well. So to me, Ohio State is in a perfect spot when you talk about all that stuff, which is another reason why they shouldn't be there, because it's an unfair advantage. And I know some people are going to comment on our past videos like, oh yeah, you guys were wrong. Ohio State really did belong, whatever, they won, blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is
about talent. We're talking about fairness.
Exactly. It has nothing to do with the talent of this football program. They are a very talented program, but that's all the more reason why they don't need an extra leg up on teams. But they were afforded that multiple times this year.
And I swear to God, if they get afforded it again.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see if this game gets rescheduled. I know they were trying to get it pushed back with some COVID cases or whatnot, but we'll see. Right now, currently, it is scheduled for Monday, right? Monday the 11th. What is that? 8 o'clock, I think, something like
8
that.
Eastern. Yep.
On ESPN. Is that right? I didn't write it down here, but I'm pretty sure it's ESPN.
I believe I don't have the.
I think so.
I don't have the channel on my calendar up here.
Pretty sure it is. So, all right. So, and that will be from the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. So, big game here. I think that there's going to be a lot of points scored. I think Vegas has Bama favored by 8, with the over/under being like 72 or something
75.
like that. Is it 75 now? Wow.
75.
I have just slightly off from that. I'm going to go with Bama winning this one 45-34. Jesse, what do you got?
I'm getting a little close to that one. I'm not going to lie. I am nervous. I don't like playing Ohio State. As you guys, I'm sure, can remember previous games, don't like playing it. Like you mentioned, they're more fresh. They're just more fresh. But I think we have some offensive weapons that I'm pretty confident in. I won't get overconfident, but I am confident in Najee Harris, Heisman winner DeVonta Smith, quarterback Mac Jones, and potentially Jalen Waddle. So we'll see. Harris has rushed for the nation high of 24 touchdowns, recording 2 or more in 8 of his 12 contests. Obviously, DeVonta Smith, we talked about him before, incredible. Mac Jones is second in the country with 36 touchdown passes. So I'm feeling okay here. I think it's going to be a really, really tough game, just given both very talented teams and given that Ohio State is just a little bit fresher. But I'm going to pick Bama 38-31.
All right. A little bit narrower margin there. Matt, what do you got?
Y'all have no faith. No faith. Listen, I've watched Bama play this season. Bama is a really good team. Offensively, they're going to put up points. I'm not sold on anything Ohio State has done. Anything. So, Bama wins this sucker big. They get out early and they stay out early. So I'm going to say Bama wins this thing 45-14.
Matt, I pray you're right. Matt, I will
down.
give up the $100 to you for you being right with that score.
I was going to say,
happen. I know. We said Bama's defense can be a little sus occasionally.
I would rather lose the $100
and
have Matt's prediction be correct.
Matt is going all in here with this prediction, by the way. So
I'm like sweating thinking about this game.
Oh man, I can't wait. It's gonna be a good game, I think. So
I can't watch this in a public place. Fear not. There will be no bar stories. I cannot watch this in public.
Yeah. You're just gonna be huddled in your condo there, just
yes.
Oh man, it's I haven't been fortunate enough to watch many national championships as a Georgia fan, but I can identify a little bit. So it should be a good one.
I also have leftover Buckeyes in my fridge, and I promise you they're getting thrown out in the morning.
I was gonna say that is bad juju.
Get that voodoo out of your house.
Because you want to know what happened last time we played Ohio State?
Yes, you got to get those
Buckeyes.
You have to get the Jesse. Why are they still in your house? You have to get them out now.
I found them in the fridge earlier, to be honest. They're like from Christmas. I found them in the fridge.
Oh gosh, yeah. As soon as you saw those, they should have been just not trash can in your house. I mean, like
no, they're going to the trash.
Physically outside. Yes, yes. Okay. All right. So just so we're clear.
Off my balcony.
Just so we're clear. Okay, good.
Don't worry, Bama Nation. I'm throwing them out.
All right, cool. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Should be good. That brings us to our Just for Fun segment, and keeping in the theme with Happy New Year. Our theme for this segment is what is each SEC coach's New Year's resolution? So Jesse, we'll start with you first, and we'll go through each coach, starting with Mississippi's Mike Leach. What is his New Year's resolution?
You know, for some reason, I just have this like thing in my head that Mike Leach eats like a lot of dried meats, like a pirate. And so I think he's going to try to get a little healthier and get a little green in his diet. Maybe start juicing.
So he's like jerky and stuff. And he's like, I need to do something else.
Dried meat.
You just see him like,
man, he's going to do a pirate diet.
Yeah.
I need to do something else. Yeah.
Life is like, Mike.
Yeah. All right.
Like,
she's just tired of smelling turkey jerky all day.
Basically.
All right. All right. So what is Ole Miss coach's Lane Kiffin? What is his New Year's resolution?
Jesse, be nice. Be nice.
I think Lane is going to try to look at his budget a little bit more and try to cut down on some of his OnlyFans subscriptions.
Oh. Stop. End the episode right there. We're done. We
don't even need to talk about the rest of them. That takes the cake.
Oh, good.
But that wasn't planned. This is literally the first time I've seen what coaches I have.
Yeah. But totally appropriate. All right.
God.
All right. Mizzou and Eli Drinkwitz. What is his New Year's resolution?
His New Year's resolution is to get out of the house more. I think he stays in like a library too much by himself. And so it's just get outside, get some fresh air a little bit more, make some friends maybe.
Maybe learn some vocabulary outside of cliches.
Oh, his might actually be just to cram in more cliches. He's like, oh God, I've used 100 already. Are there more?
Well, he's already given away the coffee table book. He's already given away that coffee table book of 10,000 coaching cliches. So he needs a new one. So
he's going to and you guys don't know this, but on tampons, there's like encouraging quotes on the he's just going to start buying boxes of tampons and being like,
are you serious?
Make it through the day. You're strong. Yes.
So that's the thing. So you're saying they're like the tags on tea bags.
They're like the tags on tea bags, or like instead of the jokes on Laffy Taffy, it's kind of like that.
It's like the little Dove chocolates that have the little motivational sayings in them too. It's
exactly.
Like, you're a queen, go slay. Like it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Someone may not appreciate your soft heart, but you're golden or whatever. Yeah.
I don't even know where to go from here. All right, South Carolina and Shane Beamer or Will Muschamp.
I had to go with Muschamp. I still don't know a lot about old Shane, so I can't envision him. For Muschamp, I really feel like anger management is probably his thing, just to chill out, or maybe take a year off from the SEC. I think they need a break.
Just to focus on his emotional and spiritual well-being. So
self-care. He's like self-care 2021.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, and then finally, of course, Alabama, Nick Saban. What's his New Year's resolution?
To get his daughter off Twitter. Oh
no! It was pretty funny though. It was pretty funny.
It was hilarious, but she's also insane.
Right, that's true.
What happened?
When there were rumors of Ohio State wanting to postpone.
I do remember this.
Yeah, she went in on them and then had to issue an apology. Just kidding, guys.
But she wasn't wrong though. That's the funniest part.
She wasn't wrong. She graduated my year. She's a little groovy. Nick Saban probably just spend more time with Miss Terry. He's just lovely. There's not much I would think he needs to fix.
Not to grow a soul.
Just maybe just stay in shape, coach for 10 more years, do whatever he needs to do to never leave us.
Well, we've already established he's just gonna get another hip replacement.
No, he's gonna keep getting metal body parts, and it'll be fine.
No, he's gonna have to retire at some point.
No, he doesn't.
He's not immortal, even though he is the devil.
He's not immortal.
Eventually, he's just gonna come out on the field like, my name is Nick Saban, and
I'm cool with that.
As long as he coaches with the same intensity, who cares what he sounds like, right? That'd be weird having a robot yell at you. Anyway, all right, Matt, and Arkansas's head coach Sam Pittman. What is his New Year's resolution?
I always, for some reason, whenever I think of Sam Pittman, I automatically think of like a pit boss, like a barbecue guy. And I think probably like what Jesse was saying about Mike Leach, he's going to try and be a little bit healthier with what he eats this year. More leafy greens, more salads, a little less protein in the diet, that kind of thing. Yeah. Now, I don't think you're going to ever hear Sam Pittman say, "Yes, sir," to a juicer. I don't think that's happening.
Can't wait to see like
I didn't have juicing celery and be like, "Yes, sir."
Yeah. Like some waitress sets a giant salad down in front of him. "Yes, sir."
You get two little flags he's waving when he sees it.
That's right. All right.
He listen, Sam Pittman annoyed the ever-living poop out of me when he was at Georgia with his little flags and like, "Yes, sir." Now he's at Arkansas and I absolutely love him.
There's just some kind of energy
different
about him.
Time, different place.
It's hard to dislike the guy with the energy that he's got. So
exactly.
All right, Auburn and their new coach Brian Harsin or Gus Malzahn.
I'm gonna have to go with Gus because I know him a little bit better. I think Gus is gonna make the resolution to spend a little bit more time, outside. I feel like he spent a lot of time kind of huddled up in his house, probably looking at game film, trying to figure out where the dream went awry. And so I feel like he's going to spend a little bit more time outside, enjoying this, the sunlight and nature, and maybe take up backpacking. Gus seems like the kind of guy that might like some backpacking. So yeah, I think that's what Gus is going to do.
In an RV or an Airbnb cabin.
Yeah.
Oh,
let's see. Seems like the type of guy who would carve out build his own shuffleboard thing in the backyard.
Yes. So. Yeah, I bet Gus is into woodworking. He seems the type.
He's got a cheese smoker. He's just like, "I've aged this cheddar."
Yeah, it's like it's been in my basement for 3 years.
Which don't get me wrong, that's a goal of mine. I want a cheese smoker and ager. Don't get me wrong. Just saying.
We all have our goals. All right, Florida, Dan Mullen.
You got the edit button ready there, Wes?
I don't really know how to do that on video, but I'm sure I could figure it out. I don't know.
Okay, I won't say what I'm going to say. I'll tell you what I was going to say a little later. For Dan Mullen, it would probably be less combative, maybe be a little bit more open to different ideas and different viewpoints, and generally just be a little bit better of a human. Watch more Star Wars is probably another resolution he has. Probably try to figure out a way to not let your fantastically talented quarterback look like absolute garbage in a bowl game. Things like that.
Get on Talkspace.
Yeah. He would do well to remember Qui-Gon's "Your focus determines your reality."
Yes,
and
he would. That was a deep cut, Wes.
And also not to run around saying, "You underestimate my power." So, all right, Tennessee and Jeremy Pruitt.
Two big resolutions. One, don't get fired. Two, no big recruitment violations. That would probably be what Jeremy needs, because we all know that
they are
things on Rocky Top are not good, because going forward, things are going to get really, really iffy very quickly.
Yeah. It's not.
Also eat more asparagus.
Oh, right.
Learn more vegetable names.
What's that?
Yeah. I think that should be his goal. It's not just asparagus, but learn new veggies.
Take a culinary class.
Yeah. All right. I had A&M's Jimbo Fisher. I think his resolution would be to figure out what's going on. And I just mean like in general. Because if you know Jimbo, he's usually on the sidelines. It looks like he's just been, got like the deer in the headlights, like this. And so he just looks like he just in general doesn't really know what's going on. And if you look at the history of his players' behavior, that's also the case. So anyway, I think
to get over his fear of Gatorade.
Yes, that would be another one. Then Vanderbilt and Clark Lee. I'm actually going to go with him, and I think his resolution should be to just win a football game.
All you got to do is do one.
If he just gets one, he's already done better than his predecessor. So, that's a goal. Kentucky's Mark Stoops. In light of recent events, to find a quarterback and an offensive identity. I think that's going to be a key for him moving forward. LSU's
drink more bourbon.
And drink more bourbon. And if he doesn't find a quarterback, maybe lots more bourbon. So, and LSU's Ed Orgeron, maybe post more selfies with women in bed. I don't know.
Woo! Got him.
I mean,
yes, sir.
I mean, come on. He's an adult. He's single now. He can make his own choices.
Hopefully they are too.
I think she was.
By their own drinks.
Yeah, that's true.
No.
And also, I couldn't think of anything else. Let's be honest. LSU's had a rough season. They went from 2 years ago, the highest of highs, to almost basically what would be considered the lowest of lows. And maybe he's just looking for a happy medium this next year, maybe. And then finally, you guys will like this one. Georgia and Kirby Smart. His is to not lose another 5-star quarterback. So with JT Daniels announcing that he's coming back, and we got Brock Vandegrift, a 5-star quarterback, coming in next year. Hopefully we can manage our quarterbacks well, so everyone's happy. I think it's possible. And I think if, let's assume that JT knows the offense better and does better. I think that would be an easier solution to keep them both around, because I think Vandegrift would be more likely to stick around being his first year. Whereas if he happens to beat out JT, he might be like, peace out. So, so we'll see how that goes. So anyways, I think that would be a good one. We need all the help we can get at quarterback. And historically, that's been a little bit of a rough patch for us at Georgia. So, all right, well, that does it for our Just for Fun. And it does it for this show. So, hey,
Wes, can I actually plug something super quick?
Yes, please do. Please do.
So you guys have, if you've listened to us for a couple seasons, you know that we are friends with the host, Nick, or as he goes by on his show, Lamb, of Veterans Minimum. We've had him on the show a couple times. So I will actually be guesting on Veterans Minimum this week. Episode comes out Friday, talking about college football, Natty champ, and something that I think you guys have heard, all of us we're passionate about, something I am specifically, women in sports. So if you guys want to head over to their page, Veterans Minimum, and give it a listen, I'd appreciate it. And I know Nick would appreciate you guys supporting his show.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. I can't wait to hear you guys' conversation on that stuff. Appreciate you guys listening to our show and just our recaps. Looking forward to the upcoming national championship. Like we said, I think it'll be a good one. And we'll have lots to talk about in the next show. So if you guys would like to email us, please hit us up at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. We can also be found on Facebook at facebook.com/pigskinsandpageantry. We are also on Twitter at PPSCC Podcast and Instagram at Pigskins and Pageantry. We appreciate all you guys' interaction on there. It's been a great time on the Instagram. Don't forget, we are available for download on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and most podcasting apps for iPhone, Android, and other operating systems, and obviously YouTube. Appreciate you guys checking us out there. Tons of views on our bowl previews. So look forward to posting another series out there for our bowl recaps. So if you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, hit review. We'd love a 5-star. and we would greatly appreciate that. So, we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting show next time. Until next time, guys, this is Wes. Go Dogs.
Y'all, it's going to be hopefully a great end to what has been a very great season. So, Bama, please go in and stomp those poisonous acorns. Don't you dare postpone that game. Roll Tide, y'all.
2021, baby. Let's get this thing done. Go Vols.